Hey there, everybody. Welcome. We are in a study called Lesser Known People of the Bible, and today we're going to do a gentleman named Eliezer, Eliezer. If you go to Genesis chapter 15, and we're also going to look at Genesis 24 today, those two passages will learn what we know about Eliezer. So, starting in Genesis 15, verse number 1, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision. Now, this is Abraham of the Old Testament. If you remember, his name starts as Abram in chapter 11 and 12 of Genesis and on clearly into 15 and moving forward until the Lord changes his name from Abram to Abraham. And then the Lord also changes Sarai to Sarah. So he's still Abram here, but it's the Abraham of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, the four patriarchs of the book of Genesis for the nation of Israel. So God has promised Abram that he's going to make a great nation of him because he loves God, he trusts God, and he's willing to follow him. So after God promises that the Lord's going to make a great nation, Abram starts thinking, well, I have to have a child in order to have this great nation come. And he's a very old man. When God approaches Abraham, he's 75 years old. By the time he has a son, he's 100 years old. His wife is 90 years old. Even when God first approached Abraham about this, his wife Sarah, being 10 years younger than him, is 65 years old. There are no ladies giving birth at 65 years of age. And Abram is not dumb. He knows this. So, verse 1 of chapter 15 in Genesis, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. So there's Eliezer. He is our man for the day, our lesser known person in the Bible. And Abram is saying, okay, well, let's look at it. Verse 3, Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, or no son. And lo, one born in my house is mine heir. So if you had an individual of means or any individual with any kind of inheritance at all, if they didn't have a child, then they would designate an heir. And Abram has designated Eliezer, his number one servant, his right-hand man, if you will, as his heir. So Eliezer's born in the house of Abram here. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, verse 4, saying, This shall not be thine heir. He's saying Eliezer is not the heir. He's not going to receive the blessings that I'm giving you. But he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. So God's telling Abram, Eliezer, your servant, will not be the heir that allows you to have this great nation. It's going to be someone from your own bowels or your own loins. It's going to be your child, your son, your seed. And then he tells him, let's see here. Look now, verse 5, and he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. So the first introduction we have to Eliezer is in Genesis 15, where Abram is simply saying to God, I don't have a son. Are you going to bless me through Eliezer? And God says, no, you're going to have your own son. And then we see Eliezer in chapter number 24. Now, he's not given here in name, but look in verse 1 and 2. Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, put I pray thee thy hand under my thigh. So this is Eliezer from chapter number 15. If you go back to 15 again, let's see here. Abram said, Lord, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house. Steward is a manager, the one who oversees everything. The steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. So if you go to verse 2 of chapter 24, Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had. This is Eliezer. So Eliezer is going to be given a job here. Abraham tells him to put his hand under his thigh. So this is a way of swearing an oath, making a promise. And I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land, he shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And if a woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. The servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and sware to him concerning the matter. So, what all of that is saying is Abraham comes to Eliezer. He says, I want you to put your hand under my thigh. I want you to make me a promise. Swear to me an oath. Go to the land of my people and find a wife for my son Isaac. Now, don't take him a wife from this land. He should not marry someone from the Canaanites. He should marry someone from my homeland. I want you to promise me, 1, you'll not take him a wife from this land, and 2, you will go to that land to find him a wife. And Eliezer says, sure, I will promise to do that, but what if one of those women won't follow me back? Should I take him there? And then Abraham says, no, do not take him back to the land of our family. God called Abraham out of that land. He doesn't want you going back to that land for any reason. When God calls you out from a certain situation, you don't go back to it again. You stay separated from it. And so he says, promise me you'll not take my son there. But I will say, if you can't get a woman to come back here with you, then you're free from this oath. And so Eliezer swears this oath to Abraham. Verse 10. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and departed. For all the goods of his master were in his hand, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. So Eliezer gets 10 camels together, and Abraham was a productive man, a manufacturer. He's into a lot of things, and it took 10 camels to carry the loads of everything that Abraham manufactured or created or produced. What he's doing here is he's taking these 10 camels because he's looking for a woman so that he can prove to this woman that the husband he's trying to suggest to her is capable of taking care of her and supporting her. So he takes these 10 camels. Verse 11, he made his camels to kneel down without the city, that means outside of the city, by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. Let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, Let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. And she shall say, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well, and filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water out of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also until they have done drinking. And she hasted and emptied her pitcher into the trough and ran again to the well to draw water and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace, to wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of a half shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. She said moreover unto him, We have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. Talking about enough food and water for his camels, and space for them. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I, being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And the damsel ran and told them of her mother's house these things. So, going back, Eliezer asked the Lord, Whoever you have for my master's son Isaac, please let her offer to water all my camels after I've asked her for a drink of water for myself. And here comes Rebekah, and when she draws her pitcher of water, he asked, Can I have a drink of water? And she said, Yes, you may. In fact, I'll water all your camels also. Now, I've done the math on this before, and I've done the Googling. How much water can a camel drink? And it's astronomical amounts. The last time I figured, it would take her approximately 100 trips between the well and the camels to water all of those camels. That's a lot of running. Notice she ran between the well and Eliezer and the camels. As we read that, you would have seen it. Excuse me. So, based on that math, let's say she's got a clay pot that even holds 5 gallons. They say that I think a camel can hold 50 gallons of water, perhaps. So that's going to be 50 gallons divided by a 5-gallon bucket is 10 trips per camel. And then there are 10 camels. That's 100 trips. I think that's generally correct. Now, we don't know exactly where the thirst level of these camels were. I read that this is about a 450-mile trip between where Abraham was and where Eliezer found Rebekah. That's a long trip. That's a long trip in a car, let alone 10 camels and riding them. And so Eliezer does something very wise here. And remember, we've talked about Abraham, we've talked about Isaac, we've talked about Rebekah, but Eliezer is our lesser-known person in the Bible. What does he do? First off, he says, he goes to the Lord. Lord, I have a need. I have a job to do. I need your help to do this job. To choose a spouse is a very challenging thing, and I'm doing it for my master. I don't know how in the world I'm supposed to know who to bring home for this boy who's my master's son. He's not even my son. So please, let this occur. And then he prays that she would offer to water his camels also. And if you noticed as we read there, it said even after she offered to do that, he still sat and pondered whether or not she was the one. It seems, you could say, coincidental. God doesn't work in coincidences, though. And so here we see that he's wise enough to pray for God's direction and leadership in this serious area. Anytime you and I have something important going on in our life, we need the wisdom of God. We need the direction of God and the leading of God. Don't attempt anything in your life without significant prayer and searching out the heart of God in the matter. Number 2, he asked for a bit of a sign. Lord, if this is what you want, then please make this happen. Now, when I often pray to the Lord, I will ask the Lord, I'll say, Father, help me here. I'm very stupid and I don't know what to do. And sometimes I make mistakes. I can't afford to make a mistake here. If this is what you want me to do, please open all the doors to this thing happening. And if it's not what you want me to do, please close all of the doors so that it doesn't happen. And I will pray that way. And Eliezer prayed in a very similar way. And then there's one more thing I want to bring out about Eliezer. As you read through it, he worships God, he blesses the God of Abraham, and he says, I, being in the way, the Lord led me. You know, God can't lead you if you're not out active, attempting to do what it is he has for you to do. Eliezer was by the well. He asked for a lady to water his camels. And because he was where he was supposed to be, doing what he was supposed to do, God led him the way that he asked him to. A lot of people, they'll pray for a job. Lord, I need a job. And then they'll just sit on the couch watching TV, waiting for someone to call them. That's not being in the way. You pray for a job while looking for a job. You pray for a bride for Isaac while you're looking for a bride for Isaac. You pray that God will help you win someone to Christ while going and telling people about Christ. You have to get out there and do it. And that's what Eliezer does. So, very wise servant. And notice, there's no jealousy here. Before Isaac was born, Eliezer would have been the heir. That's what chapter 15 told us. But now he's just doing his job, he's doing his bidding, and he's letting God keep the score of the whole thing. All right, there it is. Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, would have been the heir if it weren't for Isaac. Thanks so much for watching. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.